So you just bought one of your favorite older games and booted it up, excited to see how your favorite modern controller might make the experience feel fresh or revitalized. But when it loads, your controller does nothing. You check your config and it's set up perfectly for being used as a gamepad. Using your keyboard, you navigate to the settings menu and find that it doesn't detect your controller at all. You immediately turn to the PC Gaming Wiki for some sort of direction in how to address this issue, when you notice what is causing the entire problem. This game only supports direct input. This is a moderately large issue for Steam Input users. XInput may be a decade and a half old, and practically any game that the majority of PC users will play will work with Steam Input, but there's still a vast library of games that only support direct input. And that library includes pre-XInput games as well as a handful of modern ones. Regardless, Steam Input doesn't natively support direct input, which means there are hundreds of thousands of games that aren't compatible with it. As with all things revolving around Steam Input, there is a workaround for this. We need to send XInput commands from Steam Input and then translate them to direct input commands before they reach the game. We'll be using a combination of Vidgem and XInputPlus to achieve this. I'll be using GloSC for my Vidgem implementation, but if you don't want or need Steam's overlay functions, then you could use VDX instead. Links for these applications can be found in the description. First, we need to use XInputPlus to make the files necessary for the command conversion. Unzip the XInputPlus file, navigate into that folder, and run XInputPlus.exe. The first thing we will need to do is select the exe file of the game that we are wanting to play. For this example, I will be using Bloodbrain. Then navigate to the Direct Input tab and check the Enable Direct Input Output option. From here, go to the Advanced tab and check Disable XInput. This shouldn't be necessary for games that only support direct input, but it's still a good practice so you don't run into future issues for games that support both. From here, you could hit apply and then OK and be finished, but if you wanted to customize your buttons, then you could press the Customize button in the Basic tab and change what each button does. You'll also notice a Shift function. You can set one of the gamepad buttons to be a Shift key, which will give you access to more direct input keys if needed. For instance, if I set A as the Shift key, then A plus Start would be button 25, and A plus D-pad up would be point of view up. Here's a hint. If you did set A to be the Shift key, then you could use a multi-key binding in Steam Input to set A plus B or A plus left bumper in your Steam config so you could access these buttons without actually holding your Shift key. Alright, so now we have clicked Apply in XInputPlus and added the files for our game. As you can see in my Bloodbrain installation folder, I now have two new dinput.dll files, an xinput.dll file, and an xinputplus.ini file. Now it's time to set up GloSC in Steam Input. Open GloSC and make a new shortcut. Enable Overlay and Enable Virtual Controller should be checked. Finally, check Launch Game and direct it to your games.exe file. Give it a name, click Save, and then add all to Steam. Steam will reboot and you'll have your new shortcut in your library. Make sure that you're using a gamepad config and run your game. This time, your gamepad should be recognized just fine.